all these colors, different buttons, really confusing, but it's really not too difficult. So we've got at the top here the blocks that this person has set up this puzzle with, and you have on the left side the blocks that are out of your hand, and on the right side the blocks that are in your hand. You can use these little arrow keys to slide them back and forth, but you can only actually manipulate blocks that are in your hand. So as you can see, when I slide it all the way over, some of these options light up. Now what this means is that any option on the left has to match what's up top here. If it matches, then you can do the swap, and it will replace what you have with what's on the right side. So here I have two different options. I can swap with these 3 colors or those 4 colors. Now the object is, of course, to completely remove all these blocks. So the best way to do that is to simply work backwards and look at what will swap away nothing. So each of these swaps gives you more blocks, except the one down here. And this one has 4 colors that swap to nothing. So if we can match those 4 colors and get them up here, we'll win the puzzle. So what are our options? Well, we could swap this with a red, a green, and an orange. That would not give us this. That would give us this one, which in turn would give us a blue one, and that's a dead end. There's simply nothing you can do. And so I'll go ahead and do that just to show you what happens here. It swaps those, and we have no more swaps. We cannot do anything. So basically at that point it's dead end. We have to restart the puzzle. So I'll go ahead and do that. So on the other one, you can see it gives us red, green, yellow, orange, which happens to match that one. So if we choose that one, it swaps to nothing, and we can claim the win. So that's a very simple puzzle, and that's the basics of what you're trying to accomplish. So I'm going to go through how to create one, and I will navigate to my home location and work on a new puzzle here. So by default, when you build a puzzle, it starts with 0 blocks, and of course you have to add them, and I think part of the principle is to add a few more blocks. The more complicated the puzzle, the more blocks you're going to need, so it's a good idea if you want to make something interesting to add up to at least 7, I think. It's pretty good. I'll go ahead and add a few more here. Of course, you have to make sure you have all the resources. Canvas can be a little expensive early game, but this late in the tail, it's not a big deal. So let's go ahead and edit the rules. You will reset it, yes. Alright, so you've got a basic setup here. Shows how many are in the warehouse, how many are in your hand. So go ahead and add them all. So okay, how many are going to start up top here when the actual game starts. So we're trying to design rules, and again, the easiest way to do it is to work backwards. So what do we want to create? What pattern do we want to create that swaps into nothing? So we can just make up any pattern we want. It doesn't matter. You can click on these as many times as you want. Make it interesting. So we'll consider that one to be our win, and we'll leave all the right side ones blank. So you've got all these, and what we're trying to do is create something in a chain so that it'll get to that point. So let's go ahead and make sure we've got another one that matches that exactly. Go ahead and orange and green. Okay, so we'll go a few deep here. We'll make this one something like that. So we need to go ahead and, whoops. Okay, I see what I'm doing here. Yeah, so if you want to add them onto the field, you have to have the warehouse empty. Yeah, forgot about that. So we'll go ahead and add all 6 here. And of course, each swap doesn't have to match the same number of blocks. You can go higher or lower. So we'll go ahead and start with these. You can I think make them any type you want. Yeah, you can just click on them, change their color. Oh, you have to select the active one, which is in the first slot, and then you can change its color. So that makes sense. Alright, so we'll go ahead and just randomize these a little bit. Click on a few of them, make them whatever we want. And that'll be our starting thing. Alright. So basically, I mean, you're designing your own rules. You can kind of make it however you want. You just have to make sure you have at least one point that swaps to nothing so that they can claim the win. will match, then they can continue on. If it doesn't match anything, then they're not going to be able to win the puzzle. And actually, I did that wrong. This actually needs to be something completely different, but we want to match. Oops, that's not what I want either. Yeah, okay. Left side is the one that matches the top. So let's make sure we got a couple different options here that will match the starting blocks. Let's see here. I see I've added one too many blocks. So you can only have 5 rules, but you can have more on the front at a time. So let's see, we'll just pull one off and make sure that that matches what we've got on the field. And make that red. Okay, so those two match. One will transfer into that, which will transfer into that and give us the win. The other one will transfer into this weird thing, which we can go ahead and put somewhere else just to make it a little more complicated. But this is a very simple style puzzle. We'll make this one a bunch of oranges. Now you don't have to complete all the rule sets, I don't think. You can just make as many as you need. If you're doing a simple one, you don't need very many. So we'll go ahead and play the hand. Alright, so as you can see, we've got 2 to start off with. If we choose poorly, we'll swap to nothing, dead end. So that's not that fun. We can do the other one. Swap to that, claim the win. Alright, so let's go ahead and configure this again. And one thing that's kind of fun to do is it's never fun playing somebody's puzzle when you hit that dead end, because you know immediately you've done something wrong and you have to back out and reset it. So what's fun to do is to make one of your rules. This is our dead end, our 3 oranges. So we'll match that, 3 oranges. And what we're going to do is we're going to make it match back into the very start. So we'll give it a blue, a yellow, purple, a green, and a red. Okay, so now when we go to play it, if we choose poorly, we get the oranges, but instead of a dead end, what happens is we can swap again and it takes us back to the start. So by creating that loop, it keeps the puzzle continuous, and you can do more complicated things later as you add more rules, and that allows you to make sure the player doesn't have to back out and restart it every time. So because they're back here, they can go ahead and go in that loop forever, or they can choose correctly and swap out to nothing and claim the win. Now that's a simple puzzle. Let's go ahead and add another block just to use up all the ones we have. Alright, so configure, edit the rules. This will reset it. So what we haven't really covered is the point of sliding this back and forth. When we started with our basic puzzle, we just had a match that matched it exactly. But what you can also do is have rules that will only match a subsection of the top. So say we slid it over here, and we could match just, say, the purple, green, and the red. So let's go ahead and match that. And we're all starting on the left side to match what's on the top. And we'll turn that into, we'll just turn it into an orange. So I'll show you what that does. We'll quit out of there, we'll play, and if we slide this over, we can match just that, and you'll see what happens is it turns just those sections into the one we swapped it to. Of course, now we're at another dead end because this 3 doesn't match anything. But as you can see, we can change that. Configure, edit rules, yes. So we swapped it to an orange. Now let's say we swapped it to, remember we're swapping out these 3 for an orange, which means we'll have a blue, a yellow, and an orange. So we can change one of our rules to have, let's change this one to a blue, a yellow, and an orange, and we'll make that one the same. Blue, yellow, orange. So what that means is that when we swap out just those three to an orange, then this one all of a sudden becomes back to that one. And so you can see you create quite a chain of different options by sliding the top around. And even though you're limited on how many rules you can have, by swapping it around you can certainly alter the possibilities and the chain of events. So that top one still works because we're still matching that into those. And we can still do this one and go around in the loop. So that's the basics of it. There are certainly some harder puzzles, and you can make a lot of use of having to swap out just subsections of each one to make it really confusing. But overall, you don't have to make it overly complicated, and you don't, unless you're really going for a confusing puzzle, you don't want to make it too insanely complicated for most players, or you're not going to get any votes at all. But I like to do that anyway, because why not? But that'll wrap up just the basics of it. So hopefully that gives you at least an idea of how to use the interface and what each thing does. Overall, it's not too hard to play. It's just a matter of going through the steps and remembering that you're trying to solve it backwards by finding the empty slot to match it into each section. So hopefully my ramblings here made some kind of sense. Good luck.